Well, they're pretty much the same issues that have always been on the table: jobs, education, work, the kinds of things that African Americans have struggled for and won some victories on over years. These really don't change much. They're the same now as they were when, say, the NAACP was founded 102 years ago. And while the parameters change and the struggle changes somewhat, the issues really don't change at all. Well, actually, the membership in the NAACP is rising every year. The board meets 4 times a year. We just met a week ago, and at every board meeting we charter new branches. So the notion that our membership is dropping is just a fiction. It's not true. Our membership is rising. But we've never had enough members. We've never had the support of 100% of the people we think ought to be supporting us, and we just urge them to join up. We need them badly. We need their support. We need their money. We need their efforts. We need their membership. Well, of course, all this new social media, Facebook and Twitter and the internet didn't exist at the heyday of the civil rights movement in the 1960s, and we got along well without it. We found ways to do without it because we didn't have it. We had to. And we'll find ways to do whatever we have to do right now. But the best way of mobilizing anybody is face-to-face contact, to go to your neighbor, to go to your friend, go to the guy who lives down the street, the woman who lives across the street, and say, listen, I need you to become involved. I need you to register to vote. I need you to come to this meeting. That's the best way to make sure people are involved. Well, I don't know anything at all about this particular case, but it sounds like a familiar story. Police, black people, tension, difficulty, violence, brutality. It's an old story we've heard over and over and over again. What you've got to do is try as best you can to get to the bottom of it. Who did what to whom and why? And if you find out some wrongdoing occurred, then the wrongdoers need to be punished. If they're police officers, they're not immune from this. They need to be punished just like any other lawbreaker and need to be punished severely as a lesson to those others so they won't do it again. Of course. Yes, we are. We are. You know, if you live in a society that thinks you're not worth what other people are, if you live in a society where everything you do is questioned and held up to some criticism, then of course you become paranoid. But you know, even paranoids have enemies. So it's perfectly normal to say that a great deal of black America suffer from some level of paranoia, not rabid paranoia, but some level of paranoia. Why not? I think you said it right when you said seemed more unified. There was never a time in my history that all black people believed the same thing or worked in the same way to do the same things. There were times when it appeared that the community was more united, but it was not totally united then, it's not totally united now. It ought to be, it should be. That's what we work for and hope for, but unfortunately that's not the truth. I don't understand. What are they talking about? Does race no longer an issue? If they do, they're foolish. They're living in a dream world. Race is still a major issue in the United States today. Unfortunately, we wish it was otherwise, but it isn't. Well, I think there are many, many people of all ages, young and older, who are active in this movement. Too many for me to call their names, but if you go to any town or city in the United States, you'll find people who are of older age, younger age, even high school age, who are engaged somehow or the other in the movement for justice and equal rights. So it's not an age-bound movement. It's a movement of people drawn from across the age spectrum, and they're active now as they always have been. Well, I think it's probably mostly a matter of education and some convincing of people that everybody in this country has rights. There's no such thing as gay rights, just as there's no such thing as black rights. Everybody has rights. Everybody has the right to be treated decently. Gay people have that right, black people have that right, white people have that right, women have that right. Everybody has those rights. And as we become more aware that these are universal rights, everybody has them, then these problems will seem to fade away. Well, the current landscape is just frightening. You have the party of no, the people who want the president to fail. And you know, I'm 71 years old. I can never remember a time in my lifetime when a major portion of the population wanted the president to fail. It's just so radical to me that anybody could feel that way. All of us, no matter what party we belong to, no matter what political philosophy we hold to, all of us want the President of the United States to do the best job he can and to succeed. And the idea that a major portion of the population wants him to fail, that's frightening, that's terrifying. But unfortunately it's true. And as long as you have these naysayers and the party of no going around, then we're going to have a tense society, a society where it's difficult to get things done, where there's no cooperation between the parties, and that's a prescription for disaster.
Why do you think that is, though?
I can only think because there's a major portion of the population that thinks the president is guilty of governing while black. There can be no other explanation for it. That the idea that a black man as president of the United States is frightening to a major portion of the population, not all by any means, but a major portion of the population, and they see themselves slipping into a minority position and they don't like it. I'd say keep it up, Mr. President. You're doing a wonderful job. We're glad you're there. We're going to re-elect you 2 years from now, and these people are idiots. Don't pay any attention to them. I know it's hard to ignore them because they are so idiotic, but do what you can. I think he's doing okay. He isn't doing what I want him to do every day, all the time. There's things I think he should do that he's not doing, but he's the president, I'm not. So I say carry on, Mr. President. I'd say you got to realize after 2 years that these people do not want to cooperate with you. These people do not want to see you succeed. These people are determined to see you fail, and you've got to realize that and just go ahead, go about your agenda, do the best you can. I'd say I haven't reached it yet. I'm still striving for it, still trying to do better. Those were exciting days, but you know, that was yesterday. Now we're in today, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Well, first of all, the people who want the country to succeed and the president to succeed have to make sure they're in a position to do something about it. That means being registered to vote, and it means voting at every election. You know, if you look at the most recent election, the people who supported Obama the strongest failed to turn out, weren't registered or didn't vote, or let the election pass them by while they sat at home. That's a prescription for disaster. So you've got to be ready to participate in this society, or other people will end up making decisions that you don't like and you don't want done. So that's the first step. The second step is to be knowledgeable, find out what's going on, read the newspaper, watch TV, become educated about what's happening. And if you do those things, then we'll be a better country for all of us. Well, you need to join a political party. I'm not saying one is better than the other, although one is. You need to join a political party. You need to put yourself in a position where your voice can be heard. Because if you sit at home and just talk to yourself, nothing's going to happen. You have to be an active participant in the society and do everything you can to have your voice heard and to have your vote heard on election day. If you don't do those things, decisions are going to be made that you don't care about, and you'll be in an awful mess. I think you've got to be prepared to make the politics of our country a part of your regular conversation as you go about your business. I don't mean that you should talk about nothing but that, but you need to talk about that as often as you can and say, listen, I have a point of view. I think it's right. I want to tell it to other people. I hope I can convince them that it's right too. And to the degree that you do that and do it frequently, you'll become better at it, more skilled at it, and better at convincing people that what you're talking about is the right way to go. It's just something that will come natural to you, and you'll find yourself, people say, oh, talk to Joe, talk to Frank, talk to Bill, talk to Mary. He or she knows what they're doing. I'd say they need to become engaged in the society around them. They need to be in organizations that work for change. They need to engage in behavior that works for change. They need to see themselves as change agents. They need to be willing and eager to engage in the society and say, listen, I don't like the way things are going. I think we should do things this way or that way or something else. I don't want to prescribe particular things they ought to do, but be engaged in the society. That's the major thing. Because if you're not engaged, I've said time and time again, decisions will be made that you don't like and you don't care about, and you'll have no one to blame but yourself. Well, I would first feel that it didn't change that radically. It didn't become the violent coordinating committee. It became more aggressive. It became more pronounced at what it said. It became more bold, but it didn't change that radically. It was the same organization. we've been the victim of some misinterpretation by history. It's a wonderful organization. We need something like it again today. No, I was kicked upstairs. I'm the chairman emeritus. I'd say that you constitute a mighty force for change. If all 70,000 of you were registered to vote, and if all 70,000 of you cast your votes on election day, and if all 70,000 of you voted the same way and had the same idea about the necessity for change, the necessity for building a strong economy, the necessity for getting out of Afghanistan and ending that war, the necessity for the kind of change we all need and want, then you constitute a mighty force for change. But if you sit on the sidelines and do nothing, that's what you're going to be, do-nothing people, and you don't want to be that. Well, that we'll have a better economy, we'll have a better country, we'll come back to a jobs economy, we'll do the kinds of things that need to be done, we'll just be a better people. That's my hope, and I'm optimistic. I've always been optimistic, and I think it's going to happen.